Hello again, everyone. This is Abra, and I am back to talk about Joe Frankenstein Part 1 and 2 by Graham Nolan and Chuck Dixon. Now that October is here, we are in the season of ghosts and goblins, so I thought I'd go ahead and review some books kind of pertaining to monsters and ghosts and everything. And why not start off with Frankenstein's monster? The whole premise of Joe Frankenstein, it kind of takes the idea of Mary Shelley's novel and Frankenstein's monster and flips it on its head a little bit. But it starts out very similar to the classic tale. You have the mad scientist, Frankenstein. He kind of plays God, ends up creating this monster from body parts and everything. And the monster is... when he's brought to life and animated, he kind of is a bit insane because, as you can imagine, he's made up of a lot of different parts. Frankenstein ends up creating a mate for the monster. And unfortunately, when the mate is animated as well, she takes one look at Frankenstein and is just freaked out. So because of that rejection, because of just being this abomination, affront to God, essentially, the monster is angry, he rebels, and he ends up killing his creator. And he was going to wipe out the whole family, but then his conscience kicked in, and he didn't want to kill Frankenstein's wife, who was pregnant with a child. He runs off. Of course, like the movies, he's being chased by the villagers, with the torches and pitchforks. But he ends up coming across this really kind priest who shows him kindness and ends up educating him. Frankenstein feels guilty for what he has done. He decides to make amends somehow. And so he decides that he's going to go ahead and keep watch over the Frankenstein family, the descendants. And so that's what he does. Frankenstein's monster is immortal, which I guess would be a blessing and a curse, but he's able to acquire a lot of wealth and, during all this time, keep an eye on all the Frankenstein descendants. And as it turns out, the current descendant with the Frankenstein name, he doesn't even know that he is part of the Frankenstein lineage. His name is Joe. So the last of the Frankenstein line is orphaned. His parents are killed in a plane crash. So he's in the foster system. He's a teenager. He has a job as a pizza delivery guy. And the Frankenstein's monster is watching him from a distance. One day he's delivering a pizza and bunch of sexy ladies. That's like a teenager's dream, right? And they invite him in and they start recoiling from the pizza. And it's probably because it has garlic on the pizza. So he gets jumped by the vampires who were trying to make a dinner out of him rather than the pizza pie. It's kind of cool. I like some of the things that Graham Nolan and Chuck Dixon have come up with here, using a slice of pizza as a weapon against a vampire. I thought that was really creative. And then, as you can see, the pepperoni even is burning them because it has little bits of garlic in there. So Frankenstein's monster ends up coming in on the scene and rescuing Joe and tells him, come with me. You've been discovered. Because of your lineage and your history, you're important. The monster gives Joe a communication device, almost like a cell phone. He says, if you need me, contact me. You end up finding out that the creature, who was supposed to be Frankenstein's mate, is still alive, and she's trying to send her forces after Joe so she can have access to him, because he's supposed to be important in her schemes. Joe ends up contacting Frankenstein's monster because the monster has been alive for so long. He has hideouts all over. And he ends up explaining to Joe, history, what happened, his role in being the guardian and protector. In order to get to Joe, monsters are sent to go after Joe's foster family and his girlfriend. And Joe's worried about his girlfriend, and so he gets the monster to help him out and everything. There's this cool battle, and ends up on this cliffhanger. Don't want to give too much of it away. You find out that the mate, over the years, in order to prolong her life, she has to have all these surgeries. And the monster ends up telling Joe, that She wants nothing more than to get a hold of Joe's blood and the monsters and his blood so that she can try to prolong her life. And that concludes the first part of the story. And in here we also have a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, which was a lot of fun. You get to see some of the cover art. This was kind of interesting. I like this. You get to hear Graham Nolan's tale about how he had the logo designed and the evolution of it, the many iterations of it, until he finally was able to settle on the one that we have here. So it's nice. So on to book 2, part 2. When we pick up here, we kind of get a little bit of a recap of what happened in the first book. We see more of the monsters' hideouts and I guess essentially team members, and the technology that the monster uses to go ahead and try to aid him in his quest of protecting the Frankenstein family. So the monster's mate, she ended up getting a bunch of these other creatures, vampires, and Lord Golgotha, I think that's how it's pronounced, to go ahead and bring Joe Frankenstein and the monster to her so she can do her experimentation. And then we find out eventually that Joe's girlfriend has been kidnapped. And so Joe is determined to try to rescue his girlfriend. There's even the butler driver guy. He's actually a werewolf, and he can't control himself when he's in wolf form. So they have to, he has to hide out in the trunk and everything. He can't be around the full moon. All these little interesting little details that Graham Nolan and Chuck Dixon added in here. I really enjoyed it. And again, I don't want to spoil everything here, but as the story progresses, we see that unfortunately the monster is subdued and brought to his old bride, where she's trying to do her little nefarious experimentation to prolong her life. This was a really good story. I hope that Graham and Chuck go back and delve more into this world of Joe Frankenstein. It was fun and easy read. There's drama in the story. It's not all lighthearted, but it's not so heavy to where it's too much of a downer. The end here shows sort of the inspiration for the characters. Really good collection of books by Graham and Chuck. And the neat thing about Graham Nolan and what he's doing now with his stories is he's trying to build an interconnected world. So it's going to all tie in and everything. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all connects. Really enjoyed what Graham did here with this story. So those are my thoughts on Joe Frankenstein, books 1 and 2. Very creative. Again, takes a well-known story, flips it, and makes it his own. So really like that. Thank you so much for watching.